Welcome to the 26th episode of Generation Gap Book Reviews. I'm Kristi the mom,
And I'm Lena the daughter.
and in this episode, we are going to be reviewing actually 6 total books.
Wow, really?
Yeah. So
That's crazy.
after I had already decided last week that I was going to review an entire series because they're all similar. I mean, they're individual stories, but they are connected and they're all the same kind of books and stuff that I just wanted to do the whole series. Lena was going to do one book, but she's read 3 books in the series, so we decided that she should go ahead and review all 3 of them at the same time as well.
Yeah.
So later in the podcast, I'm going to be reviewing 3 books in the series called The Emissaries by Angela Hunt. But to start us off, Lena, what is the name of the series?
The Lunar Chronicles.
Okay, and the author?
Marissa Meyer.
Okay, and then tell us all 4 books. I know you've only read 3.
The first one is Cinder, and then we have Scarlet, and then Cress, and the last one is Winter. There are also 2 other books, but I don't know anything about the 4.5 book.
They're not
that's
part
on
of the main
Goodreads.
series,
Yeah,
though, right?
I don't think so.
So before we get to the synopsis, how did you come across these books?
I actually don't remember. I don't know. I remember when I started in reading, I would look into like popular young adult like book reading list kind of thing or whatever, so that might have been on there. I might have found it on like Instagram or something, but I looked into it. I was like, ooh, I'm interested in this.
I know I had heard about them before you even wanted to read them.
And the cover disturbed you.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, before I knew she was a cyborg, I just thought we were looking at her bone and her ankle, and I was like, why? That's creepy. Why would I want... I figured it must have something to do with zombies or skeletons, you know?
Nope. It's very different, yeah.
And these are fairy tale retellings, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cinder is Cinderella. Scarlet is Little Red Riding Hood. And Cress is Rapunzel. Winter is Snow White, I'm pretty sure. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they're all connected.
They're all
It's one
connected.
long story.
Yep.
Start us off with what's the first one about?
Okay, so Cinder is our main character. They live in New Beijing.
They who?
So, Cinder and her family. 2 stepdaughters and a stepmother.
Cinder has 2 stepdaughters and a stepmother?
Oh my god.
Clarity is not your strong suit.
Serious? 2 stepsisters. Oh my goodness.
Okay, so like the wicked stepmother and the 2 evil stepsisters.
Yes.
Okay.
One of the stepsisters is actually like Cinder's best friend.
So they're not evil stepsisters.
Well, one of them is.
Okay.
Cinder is a mechanic, and she's also a cyborg.
She's a... Wait. By mechanic, you mean she works as a mechanic?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
What did you think?
I thought that was just the term that they use in the book for cyborg.
No. I'm pretty sure, like, she's thought of as, like, the best mechanic kind of in the area, even though the people who know she's a cyborg are, like, they don't like cyborgs in this world. And also, there's a deadly plague that kind of lingers around, which is a big part of this series, is the plague. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's like Ludomosis or something. She's got a mysterious past. Because
Well, she's a cyborg.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty mysterious to me. How common are cyborgs in this world?
Pretty well, she's only like 30-some% cyborg.
Right, because cyborg
So-
actually does denote like partial humanity, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is so cyborgs are pretty common, but like usually they're not so much cyborg like ish as she is.
Oh,
So like
so mysterious past.
mysterious past, which because she was adopted basically by a father, and then I guess it
Oh.
was she technifies her stepmother as her stepmother.
She
and
technifies her.
I guess it would be more like an adopted mother, but she still says stepmother.
Okay.
And obviously as a Cinderella retelling, her father's not in the picture.
And there's a prince involved.
There's a prince involved. That's like at the beginning of the book, because the prince comes to, because he has an android.
So she's a cyborg and he's an android?
No, No, he's not an android. He has an
I
android.
thought you said he was an android.
Oh
I thought you said
no.
he's an android.
No, okay, so
Okay, good.
he's the
Because that was
emperor's
going to be really
son.
weird.
And there are androids in this world as well. There are like, robots basically, but
Yeah.
like helpers basically. So
Uh-huh.
so she's like,
So it was important in the synopsis for us to know that the prince has an android.
yes, because he comes up to her because she's a mechanic. He comes up, he's like, I'm looking for Cinder, the mechanic, and she's like, that's me, but she's
So
not.
she's
He's
not like
not
working on
expecting a
cars, she's working
girl.
on robots.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
car.
In our world, in real life, you say
Oh,
somebody's a mechanic, you
that's
generally think
yes,
they're working on
yes.
cars.
It's
That's what I thought that
port
was.
screens, which are like, I don't know, fancy holographic tablets. He's like, there's in I think the conversation he has with her to begin with, it's implied that there's like things that he cannot let other people see on that android, so he really has to get it fixed so he can get that stuff.
Okay.
So, um, she kind of gets intertwined with like that stuff, and so yeah. And then,
What do you mean she gets intertwined with that stuff?
but she's like, I don't know how to explain it in the storyline. It's like she's going
Oh,
as a
she gets all
mechanic.
mixed
It's
up
like,
in the situation?
yeah.
Okay.
And then
Thought you meant, she's a cyborg, it's an android. I thought she might have literally gotten, like, things, like,
she has a small foot.
that has to do with anything, but.
Oh, she is an android too. I love that character, by the way. Just saying.
Okay, so.
Okay, I'm almost
The
done.
prince needs her to fix his android because the
Yes.
android has sensitive material on it.
Yes.
She gets all caught up in his sensitive material, and she has a small foot and an android.
Okay, and
Did
then
I sum it up okay?
yeah, sure. Her stepsister, Peony, gets the
Is
illness.
this the good one or the bad one?
This is the good one.
Okay.
So she gets the illness, and Cinder's stepmother is like blaming her for it basically because she was in the after the prince gave her the android and then went off. Um, there was an outbreak really close to her booth. Oh no, that's
Okay.
enough. And then for Scarlet and Cress. So one thing that I will note, because my aunt did not go on after Scarlet, I mean after Cinder, because she started Scarlet and then got caught in the fact that Scarlet starts off with a different person. So the main character in each book, well,
That happens sometimes in
is
series.
kind of different. So yeah,
Okay. She didn't like that?
she didn't like that.
Okay.
Because she was like, I have to get emotionally attached to another person. So I feel like that's really all I can say.
All
It's
you
still,
can say literally is that it's a different main character?
it's a different main character. It continues the story with the plague and what happened in Cinder. It is a very continuous story. So
So you really would be spoiled just to even know the synopsis for this story?
briefly for Scarlet, Scarlet is the main character in that book. Her grandmother is missing, and it's basically turned out that Scarlet doesn't know a lot of things about her grandmother's life, and there's like a lot of like dangers that she didn't understand because she thought it was pretty normal. So I guess that
Okay. Cress is the retelling of
Rapunzel.
Rapunzel, so is there at least something involving that
Yep.
doesn't involve the first two that
Okay. I guess she's imprisoned on a satellite.
a satellite?
Yes.
Like in outer space?
Yes.
Okay. Well, it is sci-fi, I guess.
Yes.
Okay.
You'll understand that when you get to it because I can't really say that much about
Okay.
it.
No, yeah,
So,
that's fine. I mean, without having read them, it's difficult for me to even understand why you can't say anything.
yeah.
But I'm not trying to tell you you're wrong by any
Yeah.
means. And what did you like about these books?
I feel like I did get very easily emotionally involved with the characters. And there's usually I say this with what I dislike, but I think the fact that there was a person in the books that I've hated so much, like I feel like that's really good writing. Because there are times when I will like read the book and then I'll be like, and then I'll be like, I have to put this down because I'm actually really angry right now at this person. So, um, I feel like that's it's kind of odd to say I like it, but
No,
you know what I mean.
have you never heard the expression like that you love to hate this person? Like
Mm,
with really good villains or just even
yeah.
just like the antagonist or somebody who's just a bully to the main character or whatever,
Mhm.
if they're written really well, you can actually enjoy disliking them.
Mhm.
So,
Oh, and later on, as you get further in the series, when I feel like the more characters you meet, the more storylines are not storylines, but like the more like they end up splitting or whatever off. So like when they come together in a way, I guess is like one of the really good things is what I've really enjoyed about it.
Like Stranger Things.
Yeah,
Okay, I
kinda.
like that about Stranger
Yeah,
Things. So
characters they are written very well, very differently. They have unique personalities. I almost compared Cinder with Katniss, and then I realized not really, cause Katniss is tries very hard not to get like emotionally involved in like stuff or whatever and people, but I feel like Cinder is less so. It's just sometimes her very independent, or at least trying to be independent personality is in that way. I've kind of liked her personality, so. There are some very humorous characters throughout the whole entire series. Cinder's android, she's pretty good. She's actually she's got a very human personality for being an android.
yeah, that's not uncommon.
Yeah. Yeah, and then there's other pretty humorous characters, so I don't know what else there's to say.
What about the story?
Yeah, the plot's good, engaging. There are a lot of like little climaxes randomly, and then,
Exciting moments,
yeah,
basically.
exciting moments. Lots of exciting moments. Times where I'm like on the edge of my seat. So
Well, you certainly make me want to read it.
I'm really excited for you too.
Are you as nervous about me reading it as you were in the Inheritance games?
Not really.
Okay.
But that's also because the Inheritance Games has a lot of angst.
Oh, yeah, I'm aware. Thank you. What did you not like about these books?
Man, I feel like that's a really hard question. I can't really think of anything
That's
to be
pretty
honest.
amazing.
I know, out of all three books, yeah, I don't
Okay.
know.
Well, then what do you rate these books?
They're all 5 stars. Pretty sure.
Well, they
Yes.
better be if you can't think of a single thing to say about them.
So far,
Even 5-star books, I can sometimes think of things to
I
say
know,
that I don't like,
but
that
I'm
I didn't
also
like as
really
much.
bad with finding dislikes in a book in general. So I think so far my favorite is Chris.
So, who do you recommend these books to?
13 and up probably. There's a mildly suggestive character, but not like crazy. So, and then there's made up language and like
Hold on, made up like foul language.
yeah,
Okay.
kinda.
Well, you say there's made up
Oh
language, and
yeah.
it sounds like they just like she made up a language, like how Tolkien made up Elvish and
No, like
Dwarvish and.
some, but there really isn't a lot of that either. So, and then there's like some violence. Um, but yeah, just so
But 13 and up would be okay.
13 of them. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not a big fan of sci-fi, but it's still really enjoyable because I feel like it's kind of easy sci-fi.
I think you're not a big fan of certain kinds of
I
sci-fi.
guess
I
that's true.
think that you've shied away from like space sci-fi. But like
Yeah.
Michael Vey, The Giver, and City of Ember, you've read
Yeah.
sci-fi and enjoyed it.
For
And you're
your
looking forward to
time.
reading the fourth one.
I'm very much looking forward to reading the fourth one. Now on to you.
Okay, well, we're going to shift gears very much from young adult sci-fi to biblical fiction that's not young adult. Okay, so again, the series that I'm reviewing is called The Emissaries, and overall, I'm gonna give individual synopses since they are sort of standalones, but overall, it's the series is meant to involve people from Bible times in the time after
Mhm.
Christ has left Earth again, and people who are basically spreading the gospel. I came across the series because when the very first book was coming out, I got an advanced reader copy for it,
Hmm.
and then I think I was denied the advanced reader copy for the second book, so I just
Wow.
went and got it from the library, and then,
Is it the library?
well, yeah,
Wow. That's
why?
fancy.
I don't
So I'm
know.
assuming it's not
Angela,
self-published.
no, Angela Hunt's a famous biblical fiction
Oh.
author.
Oh, I
I
didn't know that.
Yeah, I know. Well, she also wrote remember those Cassie Perkins books? You read the very
Really?
first one of? Yeah, that's her too.
I didn't know
She's
that.
just in general a famous Christian author, so.
Huh. That's cool. Good to know.
Anyway, and then the third one, by the time I actually got around to reading the second one, the third one had already come out, and I was like, "Whew, okay, I gotta keep going."
Go for
And
it.
I'll explain that a little more when we get there. So the first book is called The Woman from Lydia, and it is about, okay, so in the Bible, in the book of Acts, there is just this small section when Paul and others they're in Philippi, and there is a young girl who is possessed by a demon following them around and yelling at them.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is in the book of Acts.
Yeah, I was thinking of when
And they finally get tired of
Lydia's.
it. I've never really understood why they didn't like cast the demon out immediately. They waited until they were just tired of hearing it yell at them. And then
I
they're
don't
like,
know.
"Get out of her." And okay, so that's half the premise. The other half is there's a woman in the Bible who is in the Bible she's known as Lydia, but I can't. It's probably in the author's notes or something.
Mhm.
Angela Hunt explains, and this is I think just her conjecture, but that the woman may have been known as Lydia because she was from somewhere called Lydia, and that may not have been her name. And then in Philippians, the book of Philippians,
Mhm.
Paul talks about Euodia,
Mhm.
and as a woman, and so the woman from Lydia, the woman they named Lydia in Acts, becomes a Christian basically, and invites them all to stay at her house for a while. And then in the book of Philippians, she's mentioned as well as somebody who's not getting along well with somebody else in their church apparently. So the woman from Lydia is Euodia. She's put these two women together as one person, and uh, she this takes place after Paul has come and gone to Philippi, and the story is about the slave girl who, what it says in the Bible is that the slave girl's masters, they used her to like make money as a fortune teller,
Mhm.
and when she didn't have a demon anymore, they were ticked off at Paul, and that they got him thrown in jail. Well, they also went looking for to somebody to stuff a demon back into her.
Mm.
Yodia is appalled by this and basically is trying to stop that from happening. So that's the synopsis of the
Ah,
first book.
cool, 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 cool.
The second book is called The Sisters of Corinth, which probably understandably takes place in Corinth.
No, I thought it took place in Thessalonica.
Anyway,
Mhm.
the main character this is not so much anything right out of the Bible, I don't think. But the main character is a new Christian, her and her mother, and her mother is married to a very like well-to-do man in Corinth who worships the Roman gods.
Ah, I
So
see, I
they
see.
kind of keep their secret hidden that they don't worship those gods. And there's this son of like a really important guy in Corinth who is like ready for a wife, and her Mariana, that's, I don't know if I said her name, Mariana
No,
is the
you
main
did not.
character, her stepsister, who also worships foreign gods like the Roman gods,
Ah,
she really wants to marry this guy, but he has his eye on Mariana instead. So what?
this feels like a cliche too. I'm listening.
So basically, her stepfather decides, well, if he likes you, then you're going to marry him. So he decides to marry her off to this important guy's son, who also is a Roman god worshiper.
Oh gosh.
So, and her sister's not happy. So her sister's actually tries to work against her, and that's a lot of the plot too. That
Mm,
and Mariana trying to figure out how to like honor God, but also honor her husband.
mhm.
And then the third book is called The Daughter of Rome, and
Does this one take place in Thessalonica?
no, it takes place in Rome, believe it
Oh
or not.
man.
And in this book, this is pretty close to the end of like the biblical time. It's
Mhm.
the time of Nero. Nero persecuted
Oh
Christians
yeah, yeah, yeah.
heavily. And the main character's name is Calandra, and her dad's a sculptor who's been asked to make a sculpture of Nero by one of the like people that are just under Nero,
Mhm.
and like it's gonna make help him with a lot of money and stuff. But then Rome burns, which happens during Nero's
Yeah.
time, and
Whoa.
as Calandra and her dad try to pick up the pieces of their lives, they end up running into Christians who have been brought to Rome. Some of them under house arrest, prisoners.
Mhm.
Some of them who are there to actually kind of help the people who are there under house arrest. Some of them are from the previous books, which I'm not
Mm.
not going to explain why we're now there. They might even now be in Rome, but it does take place a little while later. And then at the same time, the son of the guy who commissioned the statue of
Mhm.
Nero, his dad's job that he basically has passed on to have his son do is visiting all these Christian prisoners. They're all kind of in one main part of town,
Hmm.
in this one main area. So he has every like weekly he goes and visits them and asks them if they're willing to renounce God and worship the Roman gods and stuff like that,
Oh.
because they'd be let out of prison if they would. So he starts to kind of get to know them. And then after the fire, both Calandra and I don't think I even mentioned the guy's name. Hadrian is how I pronounce it in my head at least. They're both struggling in different ways, and they both end up kind of relying on these Christians who are kind and hospitable and stuff. And when Nero then so up to this point he didn't persecute the Christians, but
Mhm.
Nero decided that the Christians were to blame for the fire,
Oh
and he convinced
goodness.
enough of the city, enough of Rome, and or whatever, either
Yeah.
that they were to blame or that it was that basically they were looking for someone to blame, and he gave them the Christians. So they started to there was a lot of heavy persecution, and both Calandra and Hadrian are uncertain how to reconcile the fact that they've been kind and helpful to them separately,
Mhm.
and they just don't understand how that's possible that they were involved in the fire. So basically, that's as briefly as I can. That's the synopsis. So I've read a few of Angela Hunt's other books as well. Some of them I've absolutely loved, and some of them I've been kind of lukewarm about. This series I really enjoyed all the way through. But one thing I really did like is Angela Hunt has always it makes sense that she's as famous as she is for writing biblical fiction because she does a really good job of researching and bringing out the points of history that people may not know that much. Like, for example, the woman from Lydia was a seller of purple cloth.
Yeah.
And one of the things that story teaches you is how they make purple cloth. And they actually go and they get, like, I think it was something like snails or something from water that they, like, get the purple dye from.
Wow.
And then they use it to dye clothing. And it's really kind of
Huh.
neat. A good amount of the book is actually the travel on it's called the Via Ignatia or something like that.
Hmm.
That is like the road that would go from where she was from, Philippi, to Rome.
The
Because,
Roman road?
well, I don't know if it's the Roman road, but
Oh.
that's the thing that Rome did though, is that they built roads and they actually connected the
Hmm.
world like much better than anybody else had before. And one of these roads, she and some at least one servant or two. She wasn't just by herself. They're traveling on as they try to follow the slave owner who's going somewhere to try to find somebody to put a demon
Mhm.
back into her. And like the whole thing is just it's really interesting, like the journey and her steadfast faith in God, and the fact that she's not willing to let this poor girl be victimized more.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was really on the edge of my seat, waiting to see how it was all going to play out and how how she was going to prevail. Basically, there's uh, a little bit of romance that I kind of didn't really see coming, so that was kind of nice because sometimes a romance in some books is super obvious,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I also feel like I've become like a expert at seeking out romance.
well, I guess we'll find out when you read this. You figure out if you guessed at it or not.
Yeah.
And now I'll say this now, and this is really the case for the whole series. The author does not shy away from harsh realities of life during this time period.
Yeah.
Violence, idol worship, which is a big part of the second book, sexual immorality, because that's realities of our time period too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
not idol worship in the same way as this, but and that actually leads me to the second book because, like I said, the second book, the main character, both uh, her dad and her stepsister, and the man she's married off to, basically
Mm.
worship the Roman gods, and her stepsister, whose name is either Prima or Prima, I will say Prima. She is the main part of the harsh realities of life, the violence, sexual immorality, idol worship. She spends pretty much all of the book trying to plot ways to usurp her sister, her
Ooh.
stepsister.
Like killer?
If that's what it comes to, she's
Usurp.
she's pretty driven. She really wants to marry this guy, even after her sister has married him. So Prima is not
Prima
happy,
prevail.
and a good chunk of the story is her going to temples, like to the temple of whatever goddess, I don't know, Athena or something like that, and getting advice on what she can do, and trying to buy curses for her sister.
Mm.
Like she's pretty evil. And but then you have Mariana's side where she is following Jesus, or like
Mm.
Yeshua in the book. Um,
Yeshua.
and it's difficult because back then, because at this point in history, the people in charge, and this is even before Nero, they didn't always like people that would refuse to worship Roman gods, especially the people like her stepdad and her new husband and her new husband's father are people that are in charge of things, and
Oh.
they think that if everybody's not sacrificing to our gods, then they may not bless our city anymore. So
Oh yeah.
it's anyway, it's dangerous, of course. It's dangerous to even believe in Jesus and follow him.
Mhm.
And this one there was so much, it took turns I did not expect. But there's actually not a lot I can really say about it, because about what I liked about it, because it would kind of be too much of a spoiler. But I will say that I cheered and I cried when I read this book,
Mhm.
even when it was over. This one gave me a little bit of a book hangover. I did
Hmm.
not want to leave the world when it was done, and it ended on a little bit of a cliffhanger, which was surprising because this kind of series is like standalones, so you
Yeah.
don't think of it there being a cliffhanger, but boy, it does end
Really.
on a cliffhanger. Now that brings me to the third book, and I'm still in what I like about it, so I'm going to come back to something about that in a little bit. But the third book, this one in particular, I really liked the way that it brought history to life. I looked some stuff up as I was reading because I was curious, which I've done before when I've been reading historical fiction or biblical fiction, and no one knows 100% sure how that fire in Rome got started, but there's speculation about how it got started.
Oh yeah.
And Angela Hunt, she didn't like pick one of those speculations and decide for her book this is what it's going to be, but that she used those rumors as
Hmm.
part of it. And she did a really good job, maybe a little too good, at writing some of the really dark, difficult things that happened during this book, from the fire itself and people, as the main character was and her father were fleeing the fire to try to find somewhere safe, with all the other people en masse. I mean, this is old times where everything was just wood and stone and it was just burning.
Mhm.
And it just I mean, it spread so much because they had no no fire resistant or retardation, and they certainly didn't have. They had people who were trying to stop it, but they didn't have fire trucks and
Mhm.
fire hydrants and hoses and stuff.
Yeah.
So it spread really really far, and everybody was just running until they could. I think they were heading for a river at one point because they thought that the fire wouldn't jump the river. Anyway, as she's running along, she's seeing people who are doing desperate situations and doing things that are really difficult to, say, put somebody out of their misery or
Mm.
to try to survive. It actually reminded me in a couple of spots of stories you hear about, or you maybe heard about at the time, for those of us who are old enough, of people in the Twin Towers
Mm.
and what they did to basically try to find the best way. If they figured, if I'm going to die, I want to die in a way that's going to be what I think is the least difficult,
Mhm.
or something like that. It made me cry. I cried a lot
I
at that
think
in
I
that
was
scene.
nearby when you were reading
I don't think
this
you were
book.
near me, but I remember telling you about it.
Oh yeah.
And then later in the book, so this book goes through to the point of Nero and the persecution of Nero's persecution of Christians,
Mhm.
and some of that's described in ways that made me cry a lot too.
Mm.
So what I'm saying about this, it was made me cry, but Angela Hunt wrote it so well that I was really caught up in it.
Mhm.
And the other main thing I would say I like about a lot is, so the first two books, the main characters at least, are already Christians when the book starts. They've had an encounter with somebody who they heard the gospel from.
Mhm.
Neither Hadrian nor Calandra are Christians in this book.
Mhm.
Their character arcs
Mhm.
in that department I really liked, especially Calandra. Now, what I didn't like, I have nothing to say in regards to what I didn't like about the first or second book. And the third book, there's a little bit, starting with the fact that the cliffhanger that the second book ends on is not resolved like I wanted it to be, like I would
Oh.
have thought it would be. It was. I'm not saying it wasn't resolved at all, but it left with, this is the imminent thing happening. Two things, actually. These are the imminent things happening. And then I understand that the next book has got a new main character, but ooh, I did not feel like I got quite the resolution as I wanted on one of the fronts. And the other one, not a bad resolution, but just took a little while to get there. I also okay, so I said I like a lot of like sometimes like the information that Hunt includes that kind of teaches you about some stuff from back then. This one that fell apart a little bit. So the main character, her dad's a sculptor, and she helps him as in his sculpting work. And what they're doing is what they're working on through a lot of this book is to try to create a like I think it's like something like 10 to 15 foot tall
Hmm.
sculpture, which is not something you just you know
Yeah.
assemble. They would make a smaller version and then
Yeah.
use I think something that was sort of new technology in their day to make a bigger like to make a bigger copy of it and like make a mold of that and then they'd pour the bronze. I mean it was a
Oh
whole
yeah.
it was a big project. But apparently I think it was just so involved and so complicated that she wasn't able to write it necessarily 100% accurately,
Uh-huh.
which probably would have dragged the book down anyway if she had. Even what she did put in there, I kind of just started to skim because I wasn't following it.
Oh
I
yeah.
just did not understand all of the stuff they were doing to make this huge sculpture. So I did a lot of skimming for that. But that was maybe that was my own problem. There were some weird pacing issues though. The story is really good and then after like the persecution of the Christians, it sort of just like takes a drop off and I don't feel like it ever really comes back to where it was. Like the
Mm.
excitement and the intrigue and the engagingness, that's not really a word.
Engagingness.
For I guess I just felt like there was a really long it felt like the persecution of the Christians, which was kind of shown all somewhat close together
Hmm.
was like a climax, and then there was just a really long conclusion after the climax.
Oh yeah.
Now, maybe what that means is that that wasn't her intended climax, but her climax then must not have been all that exciting to me.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Um, I don't remember what the first two books were because apparently it didn't bother me enough to like make note of it in this area, what I'm about to say. But this third book, Calandra's POV is first person and Hadrian's is third person. I've never really
Oh.
liked that kind of thing. I just feel
Huh.
like I personally feel like if you're going to do first person, you need to keep it to one person because if you do more than one person first person, unless you are super good at making multiple people sound like completely different people because we all are different in our heads, you really shouldn't do it. And if you're not going to do and if you're doing first person, sorry. So I think if you're gonna do first person, you really need to keep it to one, unless, like I said, you're really really good at having them be separate, having them be different. And I've read at least one where it wasn't too bad. I know you're making a face because there's some book you really like that does that, and I'm not saying no
I
one
know.
can do it, and I'm also not saying that everybody else is as bothered by it as me.
Yeah.
But if you're doing first person and you're using more than one POV, I just think there's too much potential for confusion and for people just sounding too much like each other. And the same thing then for if you're doing first person and then third person. It just seems I don't know. To me, it's awkward. I just don't prefer it. That's all I'm saying.
What is it?
But
Annabelle
there's
Lee.
it also doesn't help, and they understand that I did not have an ARC of this third one because when you get an ARC, it always says this is not the final proof copy. There may be mistakes that we're
Yeah.
still going to try to catch. There was at least once or twice that Hadrian, the guy character,
Hmm.
his is the third person, and it like slipped into first person on his in his chapter once or
Oh
twice, and I'm like,
no.
well, okay, she might have tried to do it first and changed it, or she got confused by who was supposed to be first and who was supposed to be third. I don't know, but it's jarring. It takes
Yeah.
me out of it a little bit. So I'll let that flow into my ratings. I gave the first two books 5 stars.
Hmm.
And the third book I gave 4 stars, which is still good. I still
Yeah.
liked it. But I'll be honest with you, if I ever reread these, which I probably will, I may not reread the third one.
Really?
Yeah, because I know how
Wow.
the resolution is from from the second one, and I know that, like I said, it's not as it's just not as fulfilling as I would hope for. So I
Hmm.
don't know that I'd feel as much need to read the third one. We'll see. Um, and of the first two, the second one's my favorite. I liked it a little bit more than the first one, and I
Wow.
liked the first one. I gave them both 5 stars, but the second one was a smidge above the first one. So,
Shocking.
and also say that even though these books are sort of like standalones, because of the fact the first two could be probably read in any order, but the third one does involve people from the first two books, so I would recommend you read them in basically in order. And even though I said that the resolution for this cliffhanger from book 2 isn't as what I would have hoped for, I still wouldn't recommend reading 2 then 1 then 3, because then you got to wait even longer to know
Yeah.
what happens at the end of from the end of for the second book. So it's probably pretty boring to say that who I would recommend this to is people who enjoy biblical fiction, especially from the time after Christ, because there's obviously 6,000 years of biblical history that
Yeah.
read fiction during that takes place during this is after Christ. So the church is getting started and different churches are being founded. And Paul writes letters. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was the Sisters of Corinth that the main character Mariana, she's reading, like she's given the opportunity to read Paul's letter to. I don't think it was his letter to Corinth. I think it was his letter to a different church that ended up making like they got a copy of it there in Corinth though.
Oh,
So
that's
this
cool.
is like history happening.
Um,
And since you talk about age group
yeah, I
all
was
the
gonna say,
time,
what's your age group?
I don't know that I would recommend this to younger teens for sure. Older teens maybe because like I said, there's things that you don't shy away from in the Bible either.
Mhm.
The idol worship, the sexual immorality. The second book I think is can be particularly difficult in that
Yeah.
area. I think more mature teenagers.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm recommending it to you. I think you can handle it okay,
You're
but
saying I'm
definitely.
mature?
But it's not just that. It's also that it's just not written for kids, so it may be
Yeah.
more difficult for younger kids to follow and understand some of what's
Yeah.
going on. Maybe around 15 and up, but really it depends on the maturity of the
Yeah.
teenager. So, but definitely adults that enjoy Christian fiction and biblical fiction. And I think that's it.
Join us next time and we shall be reviewing Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling.
Until next time, I'm Kristi,
And I'm Lena.
and this is Generation
Generation
Gap
Gap
Book
Book
Reviews.
Reviews.